Hey kids, Jack here. In this video, I want to talk to you about what I'm going to be writing in 2025. This has me pretty excited. As I explained in a previous video, I've made some changes to my creative process, going from a strategy where I kind of wrote one book at a time from start to finish. I would outline and then first draft and then revise and then do that all over again. Didn't work for me, so I switched to a different method. And so here in the first part of 2025, I have actually outlined all of the books that I hope to write in 2025. It's pretty daunting. And then I'm going to be transitioning to writing those books here in 2025. The reason why this works for me, just in summary, is that I feel like I tend to build momentum creatively when I'm focused on a single task. It is switching back and forth from one task to another that actually causes me burnout and frustration and stress. And so I'm just simplifying the whole process. I've done all the outlining. Next comes the writing. And in the past, when I start writing, I build momentum on that too. Sometimes it takes a little bit for me to get going, but once I get into the swing of things, the words start flowing and I get into a flow state. And the whole plan is to not disrupt that flow state, just to stay in that writing mode as much as possible and not leave it. So what have I outlined so far for 20? First off, I have outlined the rest of season 2 for the Scions of Oth series. Of course, episodes 10, 11, 12, and soon to be 13 have been released and written, but then I have 14 through 18 left to go. Each season of Scions of Oth is going to be 9 episodes in length. There will be 3 seasons and only 3 seasons. So there is one more season to go, but I'm not going to worry about that until 2026. For 2025, it's season 2. We have to wrap that up. And there's a lot going on right now. If you've been paying attention to that series, there's a lot of interesting developments. I'm not going to have any spoilers in this video. Maybe I will have some spoilers included videos on the channel for those of you who are actually reading along. Maybe some of you haven't gotten to season 2 yet, so I don't want to spoil anything. But there's a lot of interesting stuff going on, and I'm very excited for how I'm going to wrap up season 2. Some big reveals. Honestly, the biggest reveal of the entire series is going to happen right smack dab in the middle, and kind of the way I planned it. So I'm really excited that I've been able to get to that point. So that's the first thing that's been on my agenda, and outlining those books was actually pretty easy in a good way. Not like easy as in I didn't put any effort into it. It was effortless to put detail into those outlines and know where I was going to have those characters go and where the plot was going to go. Part of it, I think, is because I actually outlined them last. I started with some other projects, and I'll get into those here in just a moment. Now, the first thing I started with my outlining was actually something that I've been thinking about doing for some time. This is going to maybe sound a little strange because I said I was going to be writing a whole bunch of new stuff in 2025. And I'm going to tell you right now that 3 of the books I'm writing in 2025 will actually be rewrites. That's right. I'm going to go back to the first 3 books in the Scions of Oth series, and I'm going to rewrite them. I'd originally planned to remaster them, to go in and spruce them up a little bit, kind of update them for my modern writing style. I matured a lot as a writer and an author since I wrote those 3 books. But after evaluating them and looking at how I could remaster them, it became obvious. They just needed to be rewritten. And so I committed to that process. I re-outlined them. There will be minor changes to the story. For those of you who have read them and loved them, don't worry. The old versions will still be available. So those of you who appreciate the original edition, you'll still be able to get them. I will make them readily available for you so you can use those if you prefer when you're rereading the series at any point in the future. But they needed an update. The Scions of Oth series is going to wind up being 27 books long. For somebody to read all 27 books, it has to start strong. I feel like there's some areas in those first 3 books where I kind of let readers down. And I want to fix that. So that's why I'm going back and I'm rewriting them. Now, some people might say, well, didn't George Lucas do the same thing? And, well, you know, he's George Lucas. Look how that turned out for him. I mean, pretty good, really, actually, for the most part. But, yeah, George Lucas did go back and make some weird edits to his movies, right? Han shot first. No, he didn't. Wait, well, no, they shot at the same time. Like, yeah, okay, ridiculous. There's a major difference between what George Lucas did and what I'm doing, though. You see, at the time George Lucas made those changes, his movies were already wildly successful. My books are not, and that's fine. They're an investment. They're an asset, really. I've invested time and money into them, and they are an asset for me. From a business perspective, I'm going to be selling those books for the rest of my life. They have to work. And so going back and fixing them to me is a no-brainer. If anything, it's going to enrich the story. I may also wind up revisiting episodes 4 through 9 of the first season of Scions of Oth. I think they would need a lighter touch, not necessarily a full rewrite, but I'll wait on that for a little bit. I don't need to address that in 2025. Let's just focus on rewriting books 1, 2, and 3, Bad Bishop, Knight's Tour, and Poisoned Pawn. Now, along with those rewrites, I will also be writing some new bonus content. For those of you who have read First Board, which is the prequel short story that introduces the character of Gerald Norham, I have plans to write similar short stories for the other 3 primary characters of Scions of Oth, those being Abigail Faulkner, Kaz, and Ebenar. Each of them is going to have a story that is similar in length and structure, with some flashbacks, some reveals about their character, really introducing you to them, what their motivations are, in a way that I hope is as effective as what I did in First Board. That is going to be something I'm going to be working on fairly soon. So those bonus short stories will be available in the near future. Those will be free. You'll be able to download them once they're available and ready to go. So that's content, new content that you guys will get brand new and free here in 2025. I also plan to write some additional bonus chapters for some of the other books in the series. This is something that I've wanted to do going forward, and so I plan to do it for new releases, but I also want to go back and add some bonus chapters for all of the other previous books. Stuff that's not essential for you to read. If you don't read it, it's not going to change anything, but it might give you some little extra insights into certain characters and things like that. These bonus chapters will be linked at the end of each book in the series, so that is where you will get those and be able to find them. Now, beyond all of that, that's really the extent of what I plan to do in just the Scions of Oth series. And it's significant. It's the bulk of the books I plan to write in 2025. I have plans for some other things as well. Some of you may be familiar with the short story I wrote, currently under the name Jotnar, Ashes, and Iron. That short story was actually meant to be the start of a new series. That series is also set in the same universe as Scions of Oth. Different characters, different setting, a specific part of the timeline, but still all in the same universe. So it'll be a familiar universe if you've read Scions of Oth. And if you haven't, and that's really all you've read from me, well, hey, that series that's following super soldiers who were originally abducted by aliens and turned into monsters and then reclaimed and turned into super soldiers. It's a little convoluted. I'll work on the elevator pitch for that series, I promise. But that series is going to be my secondary focus. In fact, I plan to write the first 6 books in that series. In fact, I have major plans for that series to be just as long as Scions of Oth. Yes, I am insane. I'm going to write a 27-book long series again. I don't think it's something that I'm going to do habitually, but if I'm already planning the second one after I'm halfway through on the first one, maybe that's a sign that I have problems. Regardless, Jotnar is a series that I really wanted to get going on in 2024, but I couldn't with the creative struggles I faced. Now I've spent some time thinking about those characters, thinking about that part of the world where the story is being told in that time, and I have a story to tell now, and I'm really excited to share it with you. That short story, Ashes and Iron, is actually gonna get a new name as well. I should mention that. And when I kind of revamp that, I'm also going to be creating a new book cover for it. And then the rest of the series will, get released when it's ready to go. Like I said in my previous video, there's a chance that some of these books won't really get finally released until 2026. The Scions of Oth series is kind of the priority right now, and so some things will just have to wait until a release date in 2026. I would really like to get some of the Jotnar books out this year, but my focus is going to be on writing first, and revisions have to come later. We'll just have to see if I can juggle those two things at the same time. Now, beyond the Jotnar series, there are two other series that I have planned. These are a little lower on the priority list, and so I'll probably be waiting until I get through Scions and Jotnar in order to focus on these. But I am just as excited for them as I am for everything else. The first series right now is under the working title of Space Hounds. The Space Hounds series will be a series of short stories that will follow the character of Elias James Cahill and his crew of the ship I am affectionately dubbing the Corso. They'll spend a lot of their time on Asylum Station, which you may be familiar with if you've read the first season of Scions of Oth. This little series will be situated between Scions of Oth Season 1 and the first war with the Gracon, which occurs about 30 years prior to Bad Bishop. This is actually 12 years prior, so right around in the middle. Elias James Cahill is a veteran of the First Gracon War with some skeletons in his closet. And so we'll kind of get to see how he navigates Asylum Station as a gun for hire / bounty hunter / ladies man and dog lover. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. There's also a lot of connections between that series and Scions of Oth. There will be some characters from Scions of Oth that make appearances in that series, and all told, it will be maybe somewhere in the range of 24 to 36 short stories when it's all said and done. However, I'm not going to be writing all of those this year. I plan to write 6, and those 6 will complete an arc in the series. And then we'll see how it goes after that. And then lastly, final series that I'm focusing on is going by the working title of Devoratrix. Devoratrix is actually set in the distant past compared to Scions of Oth, still in the same universe, but about 5,000 years prior. We're dealing with the same cultures and the same major factions. However, the balance of power is a little different at this point in time. We'll be focusing mainly on the faction of Zorok, which is a matriarchal and female-dominated society in which women have control over politics, money, and power. Men are essentially tools to gain those things in Zorok society. And our main character will be navigating this world, this sort of dystopian society, and all that it has to offer. I don't have a lot of details on this just yet that I'm ready to share, but when it is ready, for those of you who are interested in becoming beta readers, you'll definitely get to find out more. As I mentioned in the previous video, I will need beta readers for all of these books as they are released, so look for notices of that in the newsletter. I'll send them out that way. You'll also want to pay attention here to the channel where I'll be updating some things too. I'm going to leave it there for today, folks. Thank you for watching. As always, like and subscribe here on the channel. If you're interested in my writing, there are some links in the video description below, so check that out too. And otherwise, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.